Well, bore da, good morning. It's a bit of a drizzly Saturday morning, and I've got no specific plan for today. I'm heading up to the mental though, but it's just going to be a random Dembi natter, this one. Like I say, I've normally got a plan for a Saturday, but I'm heading up to the mental and I'll have a natter on the way. So yeah, bit of a drizzly one, but still. Like I say, random Dembi natter. And on my right, it's the Masons, or the Masons' Arms. Feel the heat on the engine of that bus. So yeah, Masons' Arms. Sank many a few pints in that place. And next to it is Simply Fish and Chips. It was originally the Vong shop, or just Vong shop, run by Danny Matthews. Like character he was. His brother Jimmy Matthews, but Danny used to have this, and it was called the Vong shop. So I'll cut through the Denbigh retail park. And I won't go up Vale Street because I've had a natter going up Vale Street quite a few times. I'll go up the back roads, something I don't usually film a lot. So yeah, this is well, part of the Denbigh retail park. When my first job straight from school in the Quicks, well, not in the Quicks itself, it was BMS on the side of the Quicks, where the front of Home Bargains is now. I don't know if you can see it through here. There's a bit overgrown there, but hang on, just get up these steps. Yeah, there was nothing else here but the Quicks. There was like there was an off license, a furniture store, butchers and pet shop, news agents and stuff. You see in the distance there, that's where BMS was. Barker's Tyres and Exhaust were next door. I was there for about 3 years, 1979. 78, 79, straight from school, my very first job. I was, and then, oh yeah, like I say, I was there for about 3 years, and I got moved to Rel. Where's he going? And I was assistant manager in Rel with Simon and Bert. Bert was just Simon's chauffeur. He was an old man. He was about 60 to 70, something like that. And he had an old Vauxhall. Was it a Vauxhall Viva, something like that? And he used to basically just run Simon to and from, because Simon couldn't drive. I couldn't drive when I was here, but I learned to drive when I moved to Rel and passed my test. So yeah, talking about that as a learner coming now. So yeah, yeah. So good days, great. In them days, I've said it before, if we had these cameras and things like that, because in them days, I started my filmmaking with the Super 8 camera and the projector and stuff like that. No videos, there's no camcorders in them days, no mobile phones, nothing like that. Memory card, you'd say, what's a memory card? It was all tape and film, Super 8 film and stuff like that. And anyway, yeah, like I say, I won't go up Vale Street. I'll go up the back roads if I can get across this road. It's busy today. Normal, well, this is normal I suppose for a Saturday. So yeah, this was the old Quicks. Like I say, all this wasn't here. It was just the Quicks down the far end there. Trying to get across the road. I do all my own stunts, by the way. Yeah, that's Vale Street down there. Well, I'll be going up the back road here. And that's where the old wool factory was. And a lot of these places I'm talking about, you know, if you want to see, and Alllet Motors was here when we were in school. 1973, 74, we used to come down to the high school. It was one of the first places that had, you know, a hot tea. You could get hot chocolate and tea and OXO. You know, you put your money in and the cup would drop down and it would fill up, and that was one of the first places in Dembi. We used to call in there. I think it was 10p or something like that, and get a cup of hot whatever, tea, coffee. I remember there was chocolate and OXO or something like that. But yeah, Lidl's or Lidl, whatever you want to call it, I've supplied when they were, it was Gateway or Safeway or something like that. Going back the late 80s, I supplied when they were doing it up. It was next door to the old biscuit factory, it was called. And when they were demolishing that, they found asbestos and, I don't know, a circumference of a few hundred meters or yards and feet in them days when they evacuated people while they were demolishing it. And then it was Gateway, I think, was it Gateway? Correct me if I'm wrong. And then they were converting it and that, and I supplied a hell of a lot of material. The only thing I didn't supply was the bricks. Could have made some money out of that, but yeah, everything else, more or less everything else I supplied when I was one of my builders merchants on the top of town. Right, onwards and upwards. And here, that was the Vong School. I never went to Vong. I was, well, I had 4 schools. Gwynnog, this was my first school. And then the National, or Junior Control. And then Rithin Road High School and Middle Lane, which was originally here, but it's been demolished and rebuilt by Group Cynefin. It's all flats and stuff now, but if you want to see what it was like, I've done a walkabout on the old Middle Lane before it got demolished. Like I say, a lot of these places I've actually documented them, but that was Vong, and the top there, you probably won't see it on this camera, it's got 1877, and it became a courthouse, and I think it's what it was, a museum, but I don't know what's happened to it now. I don't think it's open now. But that was Vong, but I never went to Vong School. Just in the trees here is the police station, originally in Vale Street. Then I got a fresh police station built here, but I don't think it's manned. I think you have to push a buzzer and then Colin Bale answer it. So yeah, anyway, there's cars and stuff here, but it never used to be manned. I don't know what's going on with it. But anyway, that's the police station in Heathley in Welsh. Heathley, the gate's open, and oh, a grey squirrel there. But I don't think there's anyone in there. So yeah, I head up. Like I say, back roads. I don't normally film this area of Denbigh. I usually go up Vale Street and stuff like that, but I thought I'd do it for a bit of a change. And as I said at the beginning, it's starting to rain a bit, but I don't know what I'm going to do or nothing. I'm just heading to the mental, I know that, but what I'll come across along the way and natter about is another thing. But I've got waterproofs in my rucksack, but talking to the police, I always got along fine with the police with regards to the mental, the North Wales Police. Well, a lot of Denbigh County Council, to be fair to them, I've gotten fine with them, but I always had a good relationship with the police. I've had a few associations with them, you know, over the years, 40 plus years now, I say, documenting the mental. They've always been great with me. Anyway, keep going. And on my left is Pennerbryn Autos. Brand new doors put on it, and a new roof as well, which is there. Pennerbryn Autos. It's a garage now, but when I was a kid, it was a Mr. Kipling. If I remember rightly, I don't think they actually made the cakes. It was like a storeroom for Mr. Kipling cakes and that. When we were kids, we used to go there. Mister, any damaged cakes, mister? And anything that was damaged or squashed, you know, that they couldn't sell, they used to give them to us for nothing. We used to be coming out with armfuls of cakes, boxes of cakes and stuff. Go around the corner or up to the crate and scoff them. So yeah, that's where we used to get our free cakes from, Mr. Kipling. Wow, massive hench of bread. Wait for him to go. Never seen a hench of bread Arctic before, but where these vans are here, across there was a play area there. There was swings and like one of these rocking horse things, and I think that was about it. I don't think there was a slide there, but I remember the swings were here, and there was like a wire fence, bit of a play area where we used to go. There's obviously something to do with the council there. Right, joining Lenton Pool, which is just here. Right, that's the Church Institute. Before the Church Institute, it was at 20 mile an hour. Naughty boy. Yeah, before it was the Church Institute, it was a tannery where they used to do leather and stuff like that. I think that St Mary's is about to chime. I haven't heard it, but it's showing 10 o'clock. Well, that's St Mary's Church. And going back, me and my mate Degsy, I don't know how it came about, but we got asked, I think it was something to do with the school, we would sing in there and stuff like that. And the vicar or the verger or what have you said, do you want to be, would you like to be choir boys? I mean, Degsy thought, well, yeah, it's not too bad, you know. And then when we found out what we had to wear, these weird bloody things they wear, and these collars and like, and then we thought, no, we'll have the mickey taken out as so we backed down. So St Mary's and the school, national there. That was my second school, junior controlled. And dinner time, there's no canteen there. We used to come across here and go up them steps for our dinners. I always remember going in there, and the tables with the big aluminium jugs on them, and the smell of the cooking, and we were only little kids who were in twos holding hands. We'd come from the national there across here. We used to go up them steps there, and that's where we'd get our dinners, and then we'd go back. And every Wednesday or whatever, it was a certain day of the week, I'd begin the threepenny bit, which is a 3p, and I'd go around in playtime. There's a place there, where are we? Something like there. A white building you can see there. It's got sold on it actually, but it was Cotton's. It was a sweet shop, and I used to spend my threepence. It used to be burning a hole in my hand. It used to be red hot. I used to run up there and get 3p worth of sweets. And in them days, 3p worth of sweets, you could get a lot of sweets. But that was Cotton's. Like I say, this was my second school, which is the national. It was the junior controlled school, but it was called the national. And there, the drill hall, the volunteer drill hall, and that's for sale as well. That was the youth club, Denbigh Youth Club, where I used to play table tennis. I was a good table tennis player. But anyway, that's the frontage. There's flats and stuff now, but they've kept the front. Well, that was the national. And my class was here. Hopefully you can see the window there. And Bobby Owen used to teach me. Robert Owen or Bobby Owen. So yeah, that's the national. And that great ginormous building you can see there, that was Smithfield Garage. A bit higher up you had Smithfield Stores, but this was Smithfield Garage. And like I said, if you want to see what it looked like before Smithfield Garage got demolished and this was built, check out my videos, because I've documented a lot of Denbigh over the years, taking photos and film of stuff that don't exist now. But that was like I say, Smithfield Garage. And I'll get across the road here, I think, and where Morrison's is, it was Safeway, and there was a tip here, council tip, where you could take your rubbish and stuff. But it was the cattle market, was there. Every Wednesday was it? I can't remember offhand. It was a certain day of the week, but there was we used to go there and help the farmers out, and we used to work quite hard actually, sorting all the animals and helping them all out and all that. We used to have like auctions and stuff there, and I remember one day I had 50 pence. I was absolutely amazed. Never earned that much in the day before. And here it's a Smithfield shop. It's a barber's now, but it was like a newsagent and sweet shop and tobacconist and that. And we used to run across the road and instantly, whatever the farmers paid you, you'd spend it in there in the Smithfield shop. Get all your sweets and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's Morrison's now. So yeah. Yeah, Smithfield Stores was here, car wash there now. But Smithfield Garage was the bottom one, and Smithfield Stores was up here. There's a lot of shouting or the dog barking. So yeah, anyway, yeah, 50 pence. I was absolutely amazed. Be running across the road, getting 50 pence worth of sweets. Whew. And here, well, it's the ex-council offices. Actually, it's been taken over by the health board. There's Caledrin. But there was Grandby shirt factory. And on a Sunday morning, it's pulling in now, there was a slope in front of it. And on a Sunday morning, we come in with our skateboards. And we do a bit of skateboarding. It's a really good smooth slope, but like I say, it was a Grandby shirt factory. And up there was a nice good slope there, where we used to, in the winter when it was snow and that, we used to get fertiliser bags, fill them up with straw, and couldn't afford a sledge in them days. Just drizzling a bit. And we used to sit on these fertiliser bags and slide down the hill. There's a really good hill for sledging. But like I say, we didn't have sledges, we used to improvise. But yeah, you can see it's a hell of a big place. But it's been taken over. Right. And there's the castle in the distance there. Castell Denbigh Castle. And there, hopefully, I don't know if you can see a big red bit sticking out. That's Loveland Garage. That's where I grew up as a kid. And yes, it's haunted. I've talked about it before. It's starting to come down a bit heavy now. Yeah, so I grew up and I tied. It was Williams Brothers, coach builders, and then they became funeral directors. And my tide worked for Williams Brothers, and when they retired and that, they just gave in the whole building. They said that you can have it. There was a smithy there, two furnaces, and there was an anvils in the smithy and all sort of horse related stuff, horseshoes everywhere, and that we used to root round when we were kids. Like I say, that's where I grew up. Loveland Garage. Retired. Which is my grandfather. You don't have a grandfather in Wales, you have a tide. And these are the allotments, by the way. Looking pretty good, some of them. So yeah, yeah. Like I say, they just gave it to him. Just you can have the whole lot. So anyway, oh, and this house just on the end here was my Welsh side of my family, my father's father and his mother used to live on the end here in Llewellyn's estate. My other side, my mother's side, is the Scouse side, Andy Grant. So yeah, on the end there, end house, just as you're turning in. I used to stay up in that top room. Which one was it? This one here, that one there, the window on the right there. When we used to stay, that's where we used to stay when we used to visit my nine and my tides. Like I say, that's my Welsh side, and then you got the my Scouse, my Liverpool side, which is Andy Grant, and here's Glass Meadows. The path goes all the way down there, and we used to get pieces of Formica from the mental tip. We used to break it into squares and sit on it and slide down there about 100 miles an hour on these sheets of Formica. No way we'd be able to stop. So yeah, it's a heck of a slow. By the time we got to the bottom there, the Formica would be smoking. It'd be that hot with the friction. So yeah, and I've done a few videos before and I used to talk about that, and I used to think, where the hell did we used to get Formica from? And I remember that's where we used to get it. We used to go rooting in the mental tip. There was 3 tips, one in the ground next to the incinerator and 2 not in the grounds, just the other side of the cinder truck. That's where we used to get our pieces of Formica. Excellent stuff. We used to sit on it and slide down Glass Meadows. We used to do it by Burgess Gate as well, but Glass Meadows is the one you could really get some speed going. Anyway, just round the corner from the mental, like a moth to the light. It's spotting now too. So yeah, like I say, just random. I don't know, this wasn't planned. I just have a wander and have a natter in it. Right, so here I am at a very drizzly mental, and they've got the signs here, 2 new signs, albeit they're not legal because they're not bilingual, but it's a start, isn't it? So anyway, so yeah, and yeah, 40 years or 40 plus years now I've been documenting this place, and I've done a few videos over the years. Why do I do it? And okay, I get a bit of interest and stuff. It's just something I started. Actually, I started in the early 80s. I had the old Super 8 film of the metal, but it didn't survive. You've got to store it correctly, and I didn't store it correctly on the reels. It all just sort of stuck together and went all manky and stuff like that. So really, it's the early 80s, and I've worked it out, and it is over 40 years I've been documenting the place. I've had connections with it. There's one sign there. That is legal. Bilingual. Never worked there, but I got a lot of connections, a lot of memories and stuff. I knew a lot of the patients and things, and with the Lovely Garage, we're the only taxi firm in them days, and we used to run the patients and staff and stuff, and I used to hop in, and we used to do Wells Fargo, which is the wages run. The phone used to go in the office and hello Lovely Garage, and all they used to say was Wells Fargo, and that meant the wages were ready, and it was from the Midland Bank. It was in them days, and they used to come out. There was 2 of them, and quite often I'd go on, on the run. Oh, can I come for a ride? And they used to have two like briefcases, and in them days there was no bank transfers and nothing. It was all cash. So you can imagine how much money was in them briefcases, and there was 4 of them. Like I said, there was 2 of them, and they had 2 briefcases each. So it was the Wells Fargo, and we used to go in, and so yeah, like I say, and I used to know a lot of the patients and stuff like that. But anyway, I'll have a wander down. Gotta go to the Cinder track, haven't I, while I'm here, and I'll show you where the tips were, or where 2 of them were anyway. which I've had a lot of the old stuff with the mental stamped on them. We used to just tip things, and anything they couldn't burn, they had an incinerator down the far side by the canteen there. Anything they could burn, they'd burn, and anything that wouldn't burn, they used to just dump them on a tip. And we used to be on a Saturday, sometimes we'd be there for a few hours rummaging and finding all sorts of stuff. So yeah, right, I'll head down to the Cinder track, which is haunted. I might not have mentioned that. Right, I'll head down to the Cinder track. So this is coming up now on my right. We used to call it the main entrance. There was 2 entrances, technically 3 entrances, but one was onto the Cinder track, which was never used for traffic and stuff, but this one was the one that was used the most. The other one was the engineering section past the nurse's home and that, but it was very rarely used now. But this was the main entrance, we used to call it, and it leads up to the squeeze through the Lego bricks, leads up to the front door. You can see in the distance there where I witnessed a patient fall into his death. I know I've talked about these things before, but I don't care. Talk about it again. I pulled up on a taxi run, and my mother went in to find the fare and that, and this patient came out, and I can always remember it to this day. He had a dressing gown on, pyjamas and slippers, and he had a shaved head, and he stood on the top of the steps and he looked down at me, and I was there looking at him. I was about 7 or 8, something like that, and he proceeded to walk down the steps, and he just fell, and he never put his hands out. He just bang, and he was just still. And then someone came out, and then the next minute, before you know it, he was surrounded and this and that. And we found out, they phoned up the next day, and they said that patient, as soon as he hit them steps, he was dead. And I was the only one that witnessed it. And I'll never forget it to this day. I can see him now, looking at me, and bang. Like I said, I was only young. I was only about 7, something like that. And he died in front of my eyes. The size of that puddle there. Shows you how much rain has come down. It's getting quite heavy. I might have to stick a waterproof one, I think, but look at the size of that. That is 1 puddle and a half, that. But yeah, like I say, I've got a lot of connections with the mental, especially growing up as a kid. The patients, and used to, well, 4 categories of patients. The ones were locked in, some were allowed into the airing courts, they used to call them, walled sections, and some were allowed in the grounds, some were allowed out, they could just do as they want. Some were supervised, they'd have a nurse with them, but there were a few patients where they could just come and go as they pleased. And then you had the jumpers, as we called them, on the side of the castle, the top of Love Lane. When we were kids, oh, it's a jumper. It was like a ledge on this, and it's quite high up. And we used to run up, and we used to sit. There's a bungalow. And we used to sit on the wall, and we used to watch them getting talked down, and they'd be like that on this edge of this ledge, threatening to jump. And when we were kids, we used to think, oh, great fun and that. But you know, when you think, it's very sad. It's very sad. But no one did actually ever jump. They always got talked down, but they used to get a lot of escapees. And then they used to go to the dam, one of the water supplies, the mental, which is on the Ystrad there. And when it was no longer in use, when they purchased the thin bran, and they had a pipeline, the dam was never used, but the patients used to escape and go to the dam and jump in and drown themselves. So what they did was they just blew it up, they just dynamited it, and there's a little bit of section. As I said, if you want to see these places, check out my videos. I've covered them 40 years now. So yeah, sad, very sad. So this is Jones Brothers entrance here now. So, which I won't be crossing the line of death. You've got the line of death there. I won't be crossing that. Likely to be shot on sight. It's a joke. So anyway, yeah, so you know, we used to think it's very sad. Should we have a look what's going on here? Yeah, they got all white vans and stuff there now. It was Jones Brothers all green, but they got a lot of white pickups and stuff there. See, look, I'm not crossing the line of death. It's not worth it. Anyway, I'm just heading down here and have a bit of wander down the Cinder track, down to the pavilion, and that'll be it then for this video, I think. So this is the Cinder track, which is haunted, just in case I never mentioned it. It's a very wet Cinder track today too. But yeah, when we used to head to the pavilion, and we was called the cricket and the rugby pavilion, we used to spend a lot of time there when we were kids. We'd either walk or come on our bikes. But we never used to come round, and well, very rarely used to come along the Cinder track here. And I've said it before, and I've probably said it a million times. It's the reason it's called the Cinder track, because the old cinders from the boilers, and to get rid of the old cinders, you used to chuck it on this track and chuck it down the slope there. And it used to be thick, 3-4 inches thick of cinders. And that's why it's called the Cinder track. But yeah, like I say, we never, very rarely used to go round the mental. We always used to go through the grounds, past the nurse's home, Maylake Ward, and come round by the chimney, and then the canteen, and then we used to come out down here. There was a security grill here now, but that wasn't there. And then we used to go down to the pavilion and mess about down there. But yeah, like I say, it never used to bother us. There'd be staff and doctors, and you know, and we used to be kids walking through the grounds of the middle, and no one used to say anything to us. They didn't say, oh, what are you doing here, or where you going, or something, you know. Never used to bother us. We never used to be any trouble. Never used to do any damage or nothing. You know, just all we do is wander through the grounds to get to the pavilion. But yeah, those are the days, eh? And like I say, this grill security fencing they've put here now, that wasn't there. We used to just come down here. Like I say, sometimes we'd be on bikes and sometimes we'd be walking, but very rarely we'd bypass the mental. We'd always go through the grounds, and that's where we used to come out here and down there, down to the pavilion. Oh yeah, with regards to the tips, the incinerator was over there, because when I was a contact, he's not in with Jones Brothers now, but he contacted me in connection with the police, and they said, you know, have a bit of an interview with regards with me entering the grounds. So I was there, wasn't I, like a shot. So it was like a job interview. It was quite interesting actually. So anyway, give me a hard hat and a high vis, and we thought we'll just go for an initial wander. And like I say, he was with Jones Brothers, and he was saying there's this area here, he says, it's got a concrete base, and we don't know why. And I used to say, well, that's where the incinerator was. And he says, I've heard about where the chimney, I've heard there was a big chimney. And I said, yeah, it was a 100-foot chimney. And it was a gang of patients for the boilers. Used to chip the coal, because a lot of the patients had jobs and stuff, the ones that could do something. Patient labour, and they used to chip the coal to the size so it would fit in the boilers. So I said, come round here, and I wandered round, and I said, that's where the chimney was. Oh, and he was quite interested, you know. And he said, what was this building here? And I said, well, that was the canteen. And so I was showing him round, giving him a tour of the mental. So yeah, like I say, the end of here, King's Mill. That was a massive tip. Opposite King's Mill itself, there's a house right at the end of this Cinder track, and opposite there was a massive one of the tips, the mental tips. There's all sorts there, and there was another one further down that way which I've passed, which I first started talking about the cinders and stuff. So yeah, that's where we used to go, mainly on that tip there. We used to spend half a day rummaging there, and that's what's left of the pavilion. It was brick, at the bottom and timber at the top. And it was there was a homeless person used to live there, and while he was living there, I had a video camera in them days, which used tapes. There still wasn't memory cards in them days, and I've got footage of that. I've been in, and you could see where he was doing his cooking, and there was water bottles there, and it absolutely used to stink in there. You needed a gas mask, because you could tell what he was doing in there, couldn't you? Instead of doing it in the bushes, I think he used to do it inside the pavilion. It's absolutely stink. So yeah, like I say, you know, if you want to see it before the fire, check out my videos. So right, I'll head back now. I think that'll do me now. I think I might have to put me waterproof on. It's coming quite heavy. So that'll do me. So as always, hope you enjoyed my little Dembi walk and natter, random natter. Thanks for joining me, and no doubt I'll see you again.